Hello guys, we are from group 2 and today we are going to do a presentation project which is the roller coaster converting potential energy to kinetic energy experiment. The member of our group are, the first one is Roshan anak laki Supermaniam, the second one is Fuzul Fadli bin Muhammad Jamil, the third one is Irfan Haris bin Idris, and the last one is me, Muhammad Ajwad bin Tajud Ashikin. Okay, so next we're going to the theory of this experiment. The theory of this following experiment is that roller coasters rely on two types of energy to operate. The first one is gravitational potential energy, and the second one is kinetic energy. Gravitational energy is the energy an object has stored because of its mass and its height off the ground. The second one, kinetic energy, is the energy an object has because of its mass and velocity. When a roller coaster car reaches to the very top of the big hill, it has the potential energy because it is very high off the ground. It moves off the top hill very slowly, so it almost has no kinetic energy. Then it drops down to the other side of the hill and starts going very fast, and its height rapidly decreases. The potential energy is converted to kinetic energy. This process repeats as the car goes through the hills, loops, twists, and turns. Whenever it goes up, it gains more potential energy with height, but loses kinetic energy as it slows down. Energy is never created or destroyed. It just converts from one form to another. This principle is known as conservation of energy. So, in simulate this experiment, we use the marble and foam pipe in order to recreate the roller coaster effect. We weigh the mass of the marble, which is m for mass. We build the roller coaster track using the foam pipe, and marble will represent the roller coaster car. We let the marble down to the foam pipe and measure the time taken, which is t, time, by the marble to travel to certain distance, which is d for distance. Okay, from the following measures, we are able to calculate. Okay, the first one is the velocity of marbles. Second one is gravitational potential energy, and the third one is kinetic energy.
Let's look at the apparatus needed in order to conduct this experiment. First, we need a foam pipe. We use the foam pipe to build the track on the roller coaster. Then, we have a tape. We use the tape to build the track and fit two pieces of foam pipe together and also hold the track in the place. Next, we have the scissors. We use scissors to cut foam tape and foam pipe. After that, we have the measuring tape. Measuring tape used to measure the distance traveled by marble and the height of starting point. Next, we have the glass marble. And finally is stopwatch. We use the stopwatch app on our phone to measure time taken for marble to travel a certain distance. Now, let's look at the safety precaution to take before we start doing this experiment. First, we make sure that we handle sharp objects like scissors with care and not misplace them on the floor, so that the other group member do not step on sharp object that could injure their foot during the experiment. Next, we make sure that we do not misplace marble on the floor, as they could cause other group member to slip and fall on the floor. And finally, we make sure we make to be careful when handling sharp object like scissors in order not to injure ourselves when cutting from pipe or tape.
Alright, so now let's move on to procedures for this experiment. So the first step is, in order to conduct this experiment, we need to prepare the materials for this experiment, which is the foam pipe, and the foam pipe is we use to build the circuit. So for the foam pipe, we cut the foam pipe in half to form two separate U-channel foam pieces. We use the masking tape to attach the pieces together to form a longer foam piece to make it a longer roller coaster track. Then we build the roller coaster by using masking tape to attach the roller coaster to the wall, and also we use the tape to make sure it holds its shape. When we put down the marble, it doesn't slide off. After that, we move on to the next step, which is to measure the weight of the marble. After measuring the weight of the marble and recording it in our table, then we move on to the next step, which is to measure the minimum height needed at the starting point in order for the marble to loop the loop. Meaning, what is the minimum height needed for the marble when dropped inside the roller coaster? It will complete the full circuit without stopping in the middle. The way how we collect this data is by using a measuring tape, and we make sure that we get the right reading. Next, we need to find a way to calculate the velocity of the marble. And the good way to do that is to measure the time taken the marble takes to travel a certain distance within the track. So in our track, on the smooth level surface of the part of the track, we measured a 40 cm length using a measuring tape part of the track. Once we know the 40 cm part of the track, once we drop a marble, the marble will go through that part of the track. Once the marble goes through the part of the track, we recorded the time taken for the marble to go through that part of the track. We record the time by using a stopwatch, and we get the time we recorded in our table. A single marble is dropped down 3 times, so we'll get three different reading for each marble, and then the steps again will repeat. From measuring the weight of the marble to calculating the velocity of the marble, we'll repeat the same steps again 10 times. So we'll get 10 sets of recording. Once we recorded all our data onto the table, we'll get our full table that looks something like this. Right. So before moving on to our observations we got from this experiment, I would like to give a few precautions to take when measuring the data. That is, for once, when we measure, we make sure to take multiple reading and average it out the value, so we get the best reading or the most accurate reading from averaging it out the value. The second precaution to take is when measuring using measuring tape, we make sure our eye level is level with the measuring point of the measuring tape in order to avoid parallax error.
So for the observations and result, so from conducting the experiment, we are picking up a few observations once analyzing the result. So some of them are: first, the marble had to start higher than the top of the loop in order to make the whole way through the loop. Second, the heavier marble uses a lower minimum initial starting point height in order to fully complete the track, while the lighter marble need higher minimum initial starting point in order to complete the track. And lastly, the marble travel faster when going down the track but loses speed when going up through the loop.